headlines.
All right, well, with the 2020 election drawing closer, investors are growing increasingly concerned over the nation's political environment and how it could impact their financial futures. Yahoo Finance's Sibile Marcellus is here to discuss. So, Sibile, this is a survey coming out of UBS, I believe.
That's right.
What are the top concerns that investors have as we get much closer, insanely close now, to the 2020 election?
Yes.
Debates begin next month.
Exactly. So, and you know, Democratic presidential candidates are prepping like right now because they all want to shine on that stage. But the top concern for investors is the current political environment and what they view as dysfunction in Washington. And it's hard to blame them, given what we've seen in the fourth quarter of 2018. There was a whole host of factors that were weighing on markets, anywhere from the impact of the Trump tax cuts to the longest government shutdown we've seen so far, to the escalating trade tensions with not just one country, not just with China, but also with Japan, Mexico, Canada, and even Europe. The second highest concern for investors is national debt. So during President Trump's administration, we've seen the national debt reach a record of $22 trillion. And it's actually pretty surprising that investors view that as the second highest concern, because you'd think it would be what we see day to day, all the headlines about the trade war and deterioration, and also the ongoing congressional investigations and President Trump taking aim at the Federal Reserve. But the fact that investors view national debt as the second highest concern speaks to them focusing on the long term. And the third highest concern for investors is healthcare costs. So as individuals, they're obviously aware of how expensive healthcare is, but they're looking at it from a corporate standpoint, the cost of healthcare for companies. So when you look at the Democratic presidential candidate, Senator Bernie Sanders, advocating for Medicare for all, investors are thinking, what does that mean for the private sector? What does that mean for private insurance companies and their stocks? And also talk of capping prescription drug prices. What does that mean for growth for pharmaceutical companies and their stocks?
Now, these are all kind of the standard talking points that I think many politicians have on things they'd like to do. Are there any specific proposals that were singled out in this survey that investors are particularly worried about?
Yeah, so Medicare for all, that's one of those specific proposals that Bernie Sanders is kind of leading the charge, but a couple other Democratic candidates are also supporting. But looking at the debates, I mean, it's really, they're not going to focus on necessarily what one candidate says on this debate stage next month or what the other one said. They're looking at major themes that come out of the debates, major policy issues coming out of the Democratic Party. So other issues are, for example, trade policy and also commerce, raising the minimum wage, regulation.
How have we shifted the Overton window, I guess? All right, Sibile Marcellus, thanks for joining us and have a great weekend.
Thanks.